Hi, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Matt.
And this is Publish and Prosper,
where publishing, e-commerce, and marketing collide. Welcome back, everybody. This is not an episode number. This is officially our 2-year podcast anniversary.
Woo.
Yep.
Yay.
Woo. Wait, why didn't we have like confetti cannons and stuff?
Do you know what's funny? You asked the exact same question on our 1-year anniversary episode.
Well, clearly one of the things that I'm going to talk about in this 2-year anniversary is how Lauren doesn't take my suggestions to heart.
I'll edit it in the After Effects. How about that?
Well, what kind of 2-year celebratory episode is this without confetti cannons?
Not as celebratory as it could be.
This is a 2-year celebratory episode that will also have a hiring portion at the end. Wait, maybe Ashley can edit some confetti cannons into this.
I just said that I would add some in the After Effects.
No, I said Ashley, not you.
I appreciate that. I'll let her know.
Okay.
This is, personally.
So there's definitely no confetti.
There's definitely no confetti. There's definitely no confetti. But, that's fine. I mean, I personally have always, I've always said that I wanted to die on my birthday. I have no cupcakes for you.
Nothing.
No. Yeah.
All right. We first published October 31st.
Yes, we did.
2023.
It's a lifetime ago.
Seems like it.
I've aged like 10 years since then.
If I was eating a cupcake right now, it wouldn't seem like it was that long ago.
If you were eating a cupcake right now, I'd have that ASMR on microphone and everyone would hate it.
I'm quiet as a mouse when I eat. I'll have you know.
Okay.
Anyways. Our first video episode published October 2nd, 2024.
Yeah, I didn't realize how close that timing worked out, that it was about like right in that first, or it was like right around the 1-year mark.
We had a conversation about that.
Did we?
Yeah.
I know that we took the month of September off because we were going to do, we needed time to get the video squared away. So last year we took September off and then came back with our first ever video episode.
Well, but we were, the conversation was, do we deliberately push the first video one out around the 1-year mark?
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
All right. So our plan today was to just kind of talk about the last couple of years of this podcast, things we've learned, maybe some funny stories, maybe not. I don't know. And we'll see where we end up after about an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we might as well start at the beginning.
Sure. Matt
said already that we put out our first episode on Halloween of 2023, which definitely was not an accident. So Matt first started talking to me about this in April of 2023. That's when we first started, or technically March, because technically the first time you started talking about it was when we were at London Book Fair. But
first
you were percolating on it for a while.
Was in 2022, towards the end of 2022.
Well, not to me. You were keeping that secret to yourself.
Actually, that might be true. Never
Yeah.
mind. Go ahead.
No, the first time you mentioned it kind of casually in passing when we were in London. For London Book Fair. And I was kind of like, oh, that sounds cool. Not sure why you're telling me about that.
I'm not sure I was telling you either.
And then about a month later,
putting feelers out there to test the waters.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it. But you were thinking about it for a while before that.
I was.
What kind of brought you to that?
Nobody in our space was doing it yet. And I wasn't convinced that it was a channel that we needed to pursue as a marketing team or as a self-publishing company, to be honest with you. I wasn't sure we'd be able to provide any value or entertainment or any of the things that a podcast really should do. So it took me a while to think about it and to think about the ways we might be able to deliver content. And honestly, at the end of the day, we are a brand. We have a goal, and that is to acquire new users and continue generating revenue. But we're a privately held brand, which means we get some freedoms and some liberties on how we go about those goals and achieving those goals. So I think that's why it took others in our space longer to do what we're doing. They probably also wanted to learn from our mistakes.
Fair.
But yeah, I just think that, everything we do, we try to be first to market with, because I think that's how we differentiate ourselves. We'll never be as cheap as some of our competitors in terms of, printing books. We just try to be first to market. We try to deliver, good value. And I think that for me, it was like, okay, podcasts are really taking off. At the time, I didn't even listen to podcasts. I didn't like them. They were too close to audiobooks for me, and I didn't like audiobooks. And I don't know, it was just a weird thing, but I think ultimately, yeah, it had to be done.
Yeah, and I guess we might be getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here, but I think that's a really interesting point too, is the idea that like you weren't, at the time that you were doing this or first like brainstorming this, you weren't even really listening to podcasts. You weren't big on the medium in general, and now you listen to them a lot.
That is true, and I think that's also what helped me finally get to the point where I was able to walk up to you that day and go, we're starting a podcast.
Yeah.
Was I did start listening to them more. I have a commute to work and back, and I think I started with true crime, obviously.
Makes sense.
True crime,
yes.
And
that was also my gateway drug into podcasts.
Well, it works, or it worked for me. And then, really, the medium of podcasts really grew on me.
Yeah.
And then I did start listening to, marketing and publishing podcasts, or there weren't many publishing ones a few years ago, but there was a couple. Joanna Penn had hers, obviously, and some of the others, and I realized there is value to be had here. There is entertainment to be had, and, why not?
So. Why not? Well, I'm glad you decided to take that leap, even though I did say no when you first asked.
Jury's still out for me, but
yeah,
we'll see.
No, I think it's been a lot of fun. I think it's been a really interesting learning experience, and actually really definitely has like reshaped and reframed a lot of how I approach content creation, content ideation, and even just like how I kind of think about like delivering information or sharing information or consuming information. We talked about that in a recent episode where we talked about how we like to consume media.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do think that doing this podcast, every part of it, which I also had to learn. I didn't know how to do any of this when we started.
She didn't. I mean, we didn't have any equipment.
Yeah.
She didn't know how to do any of the sound, the editing, nothing. I mean, we had zero.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this, because I know also, like, if you're under the impression that this is a professional brand and
nobody's
therefore
under that impression.
I mean, well, yeah, no, I didn't think so. But like everything is done. Like, well, there's nobody else editing the audio, the video, the social graphics, the promo assets for everything that comes out of this podcast is created, edited, produced by me and Matt. So
mostly Lauren. I get to just show up and run my mouth, but
that's true.
Or, point at things and say, no, I don't like that. Or
that is also
I get the fun part.
Often true.
That's a good point. Yeah, it is all 100% done by Lauren mostly.
Yeah. It's been interesting.
I think I did come back from Podfest with a little one-sheeter on like, this is how you get started. But
yes.
I don't think it was extremely, it was somewhat helpful, but I don't think it was, extremely helpful. But nonetheless, yeah, it was pretty much from scratch.
Yeah. But it was a fun kind of challenge to take on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because it's different. It's a different, in the area of content creation and stuff like that. I mean, we've talked about this before. I was doing this podcast. I was the social media manager here at Lulu. So that was my content channel that I was managing, creating all the content that went on all those channels. This is a brand new medium of content creation for me.
Right, but similar to social.
Mm-hmm. So similar, definitely.
It wasn't a huge leap.
No, it wasn't. And also, I mean, I was doing, I am not the person that writes most of our blog posts, but I was always writing at least a few every couple of months. So that's also kind of like part and parcel of my experience here.
Imagine if I'd taken our SEO manager and said, hey, guess what? You're going to start a podcast. So it wasn't a huge leap for you.
Yes.
Like there's enough similarities and enough, I think, of commonalities between managing social media channels and managing
Yes.
a podcast, as well as being the on-air talent, that I knew it wouldn't be a huge leap for you.
No, it really wasn't. Although for you,
And also by then, sorry,
yeah.
I already knew you were a professional yapper at that point too.
So true. Man, that's the sweatshirt that I should have worn today.
Yeah, well, again,
bad. Sorry,
you
guys.
didn't wear the right sweatshirt, and I didn't get cupcakes and a confetti cannon. So
I know. We'll just have to redo this whole episode.
obviously, we're still learning.
We are still learning. Still, every day is a learning experience. But no, for you, I curious because a lot of your job, so much of your job, which also, I mean, your job has changed in the 2 years that we've been doing this.
Yes.
But you don't really get to do a whole lot of content creation as part of your job. You are mostly, managing our team and getting the people on your team to do content creation. So has this been like a fun opportunity for you to get to be involved in like content creation in any way?
Yes. So your description is fairly accurate, although
Please go ahead.
Well, my role includes a lot of other stuff too, where this really becomes the fun part of my job.
Yeah.
As my role progressed and what I'm doing for the company and the things that I do on a more regular basis, it is a lot less of the stuff that got me into marketing to begin with all those years ago. And so, more and more I have to live vicariously through you guys, my team, my creative team, you, our social media people. This allows me to still participate in content creation and still have some fun, some marketing and creative fun. But it also, I think, has helped me because part of my role over the last few years has been to speak more and be on stage more and facilitate workshops and things. And so this has really helped me sort of hone in on, public speaking, for lack of a better term. And it's helped me be more creative in that arena, where being here on the podcast and talking about things with you and knowing that other people are listening to it, that helps me when I have to go into a room of people and speak to them, complete strangers, about, some aspect of publishing or print on demand or whatever that might be. So, I think this has become my creative outlet because I don't get a lot of opportunities anymore during my day-to-day stuff to be, creative. It's a lot more strategy and things like that. So, yeah.
Do you think that this has impacted the way that you do the public speaking and the sessions and events and stuff like that?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll probably get to this later, maybe, I don't know, but
I would say if you want to.
for anybody who maybe struggles with public speaking or wants to get into like speaking at conferences and things like that, like if you don't already have a podcast or you've not been on many or any, that's what I would do first if I were you. Like either start a podcast, who cares how successful it is, but put yourself in a situation where you're speaking to strangers, whether you can see them or not. I promise you it's almost the same. Or, try to get invited to others' podcasts. Obviously, you need to have some sort of topic that's going to provide value, but 100%, yeah, that really helped. In the beginning, I wasn't terrified to speak or be on stage at conferences or whatever that might be. It wasn't the most comfortable atmosphere for me, but this certainly made it way easier and way more comfortable. 100%. Yeah.
I will say that as somebody who was absolutely petrified of public speaking, like I mean, I was somebody that I used to be put in a situation where I had no choice but to like speak in front of people, and it would be a crowd of my friends or my teammates or people that I knew really well.
Well, that's kind of worse sometimes.
And it's still, yeah, for sure. But I'd still I would come back from that and my friends would be like, we could see you shaking from here. Like you were so clearly like stressed and like freaked out by this and whatever. That has completely changed for me. That has just completely, I have no problem with it anymore. And I really didn't expect that to be kind of the same thing. Like I did, because I didn't, there's a camera and there's a microphone or whatever, but I didn't think that this was going to make public speaking that much easier for me, but it actually really has. And that was a very unexpected like turning point. So I absolutely like double down on what Matt said from somebody who 2 years ago, I would have laughed in your face if you said to me like, not only are you going to be okay with public speaking, but you're going to be like actively seeking it out and looking forward to opportunities to do it. I would have been like, that is insane. You are insane. Please go away. And now I am very much like, yeah, this has helped with that like enormously. So if that is something you have any interest in, yeah, try podcasting.
Yeah, I was a little worried about, when we first decided to do London Book Fair and speak publicly there and in the form of a podcast episode. I was a little worried about,
Yeah.
But if you were nervous, nobody could tell.
I wasn't. And I think that was actually kind of the point of realization for me, because there had been some other opportunities before then that weren't even necessarily public speaking, but like, can you like talk about this for 5 minutes or something or whatever, like, or even just like speaking to people at the booths at conferences, that it's like, oh, like I've noticed that this feels easier. I feel less like stressed about this. But London Book Fair, it was like the morning of London Book Fair, I was sitting there and I was like, I feel like I should be nervous right now. And I never really got that way. And that was definitely like an oh, wow moment for me. Because I think in the past I would have been having nightmares about that for a week, if not longer.
Yeah. No, this definitely was a huge help for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that it's also like kind of impacted any of, not even just the actual like part of public speaking, but how you present information to people, like how you feel like you can add value in those presentations? Because you're not knowing what I know from the way that you do presentations, you're not reading a script. You give yourself a
I should, but I don't.
No, and I think I disagree. I think that that's what this podcast has done, has made us go, we have an outline. We always have an outline for every episode. Whether or not we stick to it in any given moment, including right now, remains to be seen. But I think our outlines have been getting less structured, like they're more bullet points, really. And when you give sessions, I've seen, you don't have a whole bunch of notes behind the slide deck or anything like that. You are much more like, this is the general outline of what I'm talking about, but I'm going to kind of be speaking off the cuff as I'm going through it, which I think makes it a lot more like digestible and authentic and relatable.
I think it varies by person.
Yeah.
I do that mainly just because that's how my brain works. Like if I try to memorize something, it's only worse. Like I'll just mess it up. And I'm always talking about something that I feel very confident and comfortable with. So I don't really need notes per se, but I do need something that keeps me on track, or I'll just, like, if I get started talking about something I like, same as you.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we looked at that stop clock in front of us and been like, whoa, like who's going to stop first? But that's what I use my slide decks for. So you'll notice I do look at my slide decks, but that's what keeps me on track in the right direction on time.
Right.
And there's usually a timer in the crowd somewhere too. But that's just me. Like I can't memorize things. I can't really, my brain just doesn't work that way. And again, I'm always talking about something that I'm confident or comfortable with. So I really don't need it. But I will say, best practice is that you do, practice your session. You practice your speaking. You practice some sort of a loose script and outline. And I'd like to be able to do that. My brain just doesn't work that way. I am going to probably next year work with a public speaking coach.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to work with Jay Akunzo. And if he's listening to this, which he's probably not, but if he is, he's probably like, yeah, you should be using a script, everybody. Like, there are best practices, but I mean, I don't know. It just works better that way for me, and maybe for you. There are others that we work with where when you tell them, like, no, I'm not going to, I'll be fine. They're just like, what? Yeah. Like, they get really worried about it, but I don't know. That's just how my brain works.
Maybe that is one of the areas that we're similar, and so we're not able to provide another perspective on that. But I have been thinking about that too, when I've been thinking about like when we first got started, like how is this like podcast kind of evolved from when we first got started, and things that we were doing back then that like I don't think we, not that we wouldn't be able to recreate it, but like we wouldn't, like I think a lot of the way that we approached those first few episodes, we wouldn't be able to do now even if we wanted to, because we were so like trying to stick to like, you know, we had a very specific format, and we were like trying to like really like take turns talking and sticking to our outline, and we're both like heads down on our laptop which we weren't on video, so it didn't really matter. But
that's true.
But yeah,
well, that's a good point though. Yeah. Again, remember the first almost full year of our podcast, there was no video, so we didn't have that aspect to be thinking about or worrying about necessarily. Not that we do today per se, although I mean to a degree we do, but you're right. I mean, so in many cases we probably were heads down on our laptops, like looking things up or following the outline or making sure that, you know, so it definitely was different. Yeah. And you're right. I don't think we could recreate that today if we wanted to, which I don't think we'd want to.
No, no.
I'm trying to actively not have a laptop in front of me or do anything. I think, you know, back to your earlier question, which maybe I didn't answer fully, but I just think that, you know, for us, giving ourselves a very loose set of things we want to talk about, and then just having a conversation on it, I think is better for us, the way that we think and operate. And because this is not an interview show, by the way, right? So the format of our podcast is it's not an interview podcast. So again, we have that freedom to be able to just sit and have a conversation. Whereas others, if their whole format is interview based, and then they have to, you know, they have to stick to a set of questions per se, and they have to be a little more formalized and structured in the way that they do things for the most part. But we have the luxury of not having to worry about that. The other thing we have the luxury of not having to worry about is we don't have sponsors.
Yes.
So again, we can do whatever the hell we want, which I think only helps and feeds, again, our particular sort of personalities and the way that, you know, we like to be able to do things. There's certainly some episodes where if we had sponsors that were paying for, they probably would have been like, hey, you know, maybe next time you don't say this, or, you know, but that just doesn't work for us. So, you know, back to the whole being lucky that we're a privately held company, we get a lot of freedoms and creative liberties that we can take that a lot of other people can't necessarily do. And so I just think that helps for you and I and the way that we choose to put this stuff out there.
It definitely does. And I think even just from like the like episode topic ideation side of things, like we have a lot of back and forth about what our different episode topics are going to be. Like, you know, those we have a lot of conversations about that, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. But there's never a point where I'm afraid of coming to you and having you say like, oh, that's not an appropriate topic to talk about. Like the debate will be whether or not it's interesting, whether or not it's valuable, whether or not it's like something that our listeners will care about, something like that. But there's never a point where you're going to be like, no, you cannot use our professional podcast to talk about fan fiction for an hour.
Well, okay, let's be fair on two things. I really did not want to talk about fan fiction for an hour. And you absolutely hit on that when we recorded that episode. You knew that was a gimme. That was a gift to you. That was an early Christmas present. But yes, again, we have certain creative freedoms and license that we can take. And, you know, to that end, you and I both know what boundaries might be if we had them. I think the only thing we ever do really have to push back on each other about is it's not necessarily topic per se. It's, can we get through this topic in 60 minutes?
Yes.
And that's usually where we have to, or I have to come in and say, okay, this is a great outline, but you and I both know that we won't even get through half of this in 60 minutes because we're yappers and because we're usually talking about something that either one of us or both of us feels, you know, passionately or strongly about. So I think for us, it's less about struggling to come up with topics and more about struggling to make sure we keep them at the 60-minute mark or less.
Yeah.
So that once they're edited down, we're talking 45, 50 minutes. as well as making sure each person has enough time to speak on the topic. Because again, I think, there's been very few topics where I've been like, ugh, but there's been a few. And honestly, people could probably pick them out. They're the ones where I let you do most of the talking because I just don't. But for the most part, I think we've been lucky in that way.
Yeah.
Well, so speaking of topics,
are
there any episodes that we've done where when you went back and looked at the stats, the number of listens and downloads and things, where you were surprised that people liked those episodes or that episode more than the others? Was there any one where you were like, wow, I didn't think they'd like this one and they really did? Or conversely, was there one where you were like, man, I thought this would hit harder or slap and it's just nothing, like 1/5 of the downloads?
Yeah, definitely both in some ways. And I there isn't like a consistent, it's not like it's like, oh, every time that we talk about events, that episode like consistently performs badly. So that's like, I'm always a little bit surprised when I see one that I thought was going to do well that didn't. And one of those is the one about like how to survive at when attending conferences or events. I thought that one would do a little better than it actually did, and it's one of our worst performing episodes. But I do also wonder something like that is like podcasts, and especially like what we're doing here. One of the big differences, while we talked about it being very, not that much of a leap for me to go from social media to here, one of the big differences here is that we only really can guess who's listening to this podcast. The availability of audience metrics.
Yeah.
What I have available to me to look at on podcast things is a fraction of what I had on social media.
Yeah.
And on social media, it was a lot easier. Even when I couldn't see like audience demographics and stuff like that, I could see, hey, like we consistently see a higher percentage of click-throughs every time that we post a blog post about this topic. So that is something that I know our audience is interested in this content, so I should post more of this content. We don't really have that kind of data for podcasts.
Yeah.
So to a certain extent, this is really just a consistent trial and error of are we correctly guessing who our audience is and what they want to hear from us? Also, for the record, anybody listening, one way to help that is to talk to us more. Email us, leave us more comments, reviews, whatever. Tell us what you do and do not want to hear. Otherwise, we're just continuing to guess.
It's not a full guess, so let me be clear.
Oh, no, it's a very educated guess.
Well, again, there are metrics that support which topics people resonate with most. So again, we get to see listens and downloads, and things like that. The problem is there's such a long tail to it. So with social media, like you'll post something, you'll get a bunch of hits, and that's pretty much it. You might get, in a couple of weeks after that post, a few stragglers because somehow you showed up in their, For You page or something, whatever. But for the most part, whatever you get in that first 24-hour period of posting something on social media, that's pretty much it. Whereas with podcasts, or at least with us, you'll publish that episode and you'll get some immediate downloads and listens, whatever amount, an average. But then there's like a long tail to it where, you go check the numbers for that particular episode again in 3 weeks and it's now doubled. And then you check it 4 weeks later and you know what I mean? Like it's still getting listens. And so at any given point in time, you can go back and look at a snapshot of episodes with listen counts or downloads, and it's always changing. And for whatever reason, 1 week, somebody out there in the world could have put something out there that says every author on the planet sucks at doing email marketing and you should soak up everybody email marketing content you can. And all of a sudden our email marketing episode got an extra couple hundred downloads for a week. And now all of a sudden it's moved up. So there's a long tail to podcast episode metrics that you don't necessarily see in social media.
Yes.
And I think that's where some of the guessing has to come in, because we kind of have to take, let's say, the first 14 days of an episode release as kind of the marker for whether it resonated or not. Because in the first 14 days, we know that if we have any regular listeners besides our parents, they're going to listen to that episode in the first 14 days we release it. So the first 14 days is usually our window or glimpse into whether somebody, our audience, our, regular audience, actually liked the topic or the episode. Mm-hmm. Everything else is long tail, and it does show that somebody found the episode to be, beneficial or funny or whatever it was. But I think for us, it's that first 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, it is. And even that has been kind of a learning experience of so I track our 7-day episode performance. Mm-hmm. So a week after, every week when a new episode comes out, I look at the metrics from the last week's episode. Yep. So the first 7 days, and then I do monthly metric tracking. Mm-hmm. But then within that monthly metric tracking, I also have a running list of lifetime to date podcast episode metrics for each episode. And so I update that once a month, but that's something that has been an ongoing for 2 years for some of those episodes.
Yeah.
And so that's always kind of interesting. It's interesting to see when one episode breaks, like a new episode is suddenly in the top 5, that I'm like, wow, it did well really quickly. As opposed to you might think it would make sense that the top 5 best performing episodes of all time are all ones from the first 6 months because they've had enough time to grow. So then when I turn around and I look at our top 5 ever, and one of them is from the last few months.
Yeah.
That's
That's if you're looking at, total listens or downloads. Yes. Yeah. If you took every episode and just looked at that first 7 or 14 day snapshot though, and that's what you rank them in order of, I bet it would give a completely different picture to a degree. And again, that's what I was saying earlier. There's several ways you could look at it, and there's several ways you could try and ascertain what are your best performing episodes or topics that people are really interested in, and which ones not so much. And so you're either looking at long tail and total, or you're looking at, first 7 to 14 days of that episode being published. I don't know that any one is better or right over the other, to be honest with you. Right. I think that's one of the things we're still trying to figure out. But one way or another, we could still certainly identify probably our worst performing episodes and our best.
Yes, we could.
I was surprised to hear you say it was the event one as well.
Yeah, because I thought that was a good one in general. I thought that was I thought we had some fun conversation in there and some fun content in there. But I also thought that because it was a more general subject, you don't necessarily have to be interested in self-publishing a book or content entrepreneurship or whatever, or a lot of the other more niche episodes that we talk about.
Yeah.
I thought that would be a more just universally approachable one. So that was interesting to me. But then you look at things like one of our top performing episodes is how to create a custom book business using the print API.
Which I love that's one of our top performing ones, because if I could just talk about that on every episode, I would. Using print on demand to build a business, that's my love language.
Yeah.
And so to hear that that's one of our best ones really makes me happy. And I could talk about that all day, every day.
Well, do you want to know what our top 5 are?
Sure.
All right. So this is our top 5 to date.
Is this based on total listens and downloads or first 14 days?
This is based on total downloads and video views.
Gotcha.
So adding those up, do you want to know in order from 5 to 1 or 1 to 5?
Let's go from 5 to 1.
Okay.
Let's count down.
Number 5, and this one is actually one that I'm surprised about.
Email.
No. Although that is in our top 10.
I knew it would be.
Episode number 10, which was our marketing your book pre-launch, at launch, and post-launch.
Huh.
Which I'm always kind of surprised about, not because that's a rough topic, but because that's one of those episodes that if I could, I would go back and redo. And I would break it out into 3 episodes, and I would take a lot more time with it.
I see. Yeah, I agree with that.
So the fact that one stays consistently high is interesting to me. Number 4 is episode 38, From Manuscript to Market, 5 Tools to Help You Draft, Publish, and Sell Your Book.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 3 is the episode 61, Creating a Custom Book Business Using Lulu's Print API.
Love it.
Number 2 is episode 79, which is the one that's from the last few months.
Yeah.
And it's the one that is how Justin Moore sold over 1,000 books in 90 days.
Which, as an update, he just texted me the other day. He's crossed the 5,000 unit threshold.
Did he really?
already. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's crazy.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I pleasantly surprised to see that, how well that one did.
Huh.
Yeah, and our number one top performing episode to date is episode number 31, your 7-step guide to building an online bookstore,
Oh, love it.
which was your idea. So
number-
congratulations.
Episode 3 and episode 1, or best performing number 3 and number 1 are my favorites.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep.
Who
But
would
those
have
are
knew
both-
that people liked making money off of books?
Well, can you believe? But those are both, or actually, at number 4 too, the 5+ tools to help you draft, publish, and sell your book. Those 3 are all more technical episodes than I would have expected to see in that top. Like they're all more like we're getting down to brass tacks here, and we are just talking you through like how to do this.
Well, and other than Justin Moore's episode, which arguably also included this,
Yes.
all 5 of our top 5 episodes are really about marketing and selling more books.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about craft. It's not about plot. It's not about tropes. It's not about the proper use of niche versus niche. It's how to market and sell more books.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes. Which does kind of then maybe lead to the question of like, is that something that you would have done differently? As we've talked a lot about niche or niching down over time, would you, if we were going back to the beginning, would you want to niche down further in the podcast? Because we do kind of,
No.
we did approach this with a broad stroke initially.
I wouldn't, and here's why. Mm-hmm. If we niched down in the beginning, which for some people I think is the right thing to do, but for us, now remember, we're a brand with a podcast. So our mission is a little bit different. Obviously, like I said in the beginning, we have some goals, some things we need to do. So if we had niched down further in the beginning, I don't know that we would have made it this far, and certainly not coming up on our 100th episode here soon, because I think we would have been niched down too far, and then we would have had to work our way back out. I think it was smarter and easier. I don't know if it was purposeful or not, but I think it worked out for the better that we did start a little higher up, a little broader, and have gone down niche paths along the way. But ultimately, we've still found ourselves in the niche that we want to be in, which is using print on demand to build a successful business around books, obviously.
Yeah.
So, we still got to where we wanted to be. Like, had we niched down from the beginning, that's where I would have niched to. Mm-hmm. But we still got here.
Yeah.
And based on those metrics you just gave us, those are our best performing episodes. So I would say, if we were looking at a 2-year plan from day one, we've probably hit a lot of the goals that we wanted to hit. Mm-hmm. So that's great.
Yeah. I think that's, I learned this from a lot of people, but I very specifically had this conversation with Lindsay. I'm pretty sure her last name is pronounced Dollinger, and I'm sorry if I got that wrong, Lindsay. But
it's either Dollinger or Dollinger.
Yes, it's one of those two.
Yeah.
But she and I talked about this when I interviewed her for the Creator Spotlight for the Tilt, and she was talking about her podcast that she's been doing for a while now, like several years. And she has reinvented it several times. And I was asking her if every time she reinvents her podcast, she starts it from scratch, or if she just kind of narrows focus on her existing one. And she does just use the existing one and keep narrowing focus. And that was kind of exactly what she said. It was like, it's, you can niche down within your audience, within your existing audience, but you can't like go back out again once you've gotten that really, really like specific concentrated audience. If you start broadening back out again, they're not going to be super happy about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can do it. I just don't know how successful you'll be with it. Because if you get to a niche, let's say like we're getting to, where we're really speaking to and with people who are highly motivated to create and sell books as a business, and how to be successful at that using print on demand, and all the things we talk about, global scalability, blah blah blah. to niche back out or up to an upper level of just like, whether it's hobbyist authors or, some of the other areas that were originally along for the ride. I don't think that our core audience now would appreciate that. So yeah, I don't know. I think whether it was by sheer luck or maybe some sort of strategy we had back then, I don't remember. I think we did the right thing, thankfully.
Maybe a little of both.
Could be a little of both.
A little of both. Yeah, because I mean, I do think that there's also like when you have that kind of flexibility in, we've mostly identified our niche, but we still every now and then might go off topic or might do something. It gives you that room to experiment, which is also, I think, something that you have to earn over time, where you can say like, okay, we've done pretty consistent content for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
So it's okay. We have done, you may or may not have noticed this if you are a consistent listener of ours, we have done a few anomaly episodes lately. We've done a few more like we're interviewing people live at CEX, or Matt and I are approaching these episodes in more of like soundbite. Like we're doing the ones where we're pulling the Post-it notes, or the publishing horror stories where those are more segmented than having like one straightforward topic. Maybe some interview ones, maybe some ones that we're bringing some guests on instead of Matt. I have had some of my co-hosts or my teammates on as co-hosts with me. We had to get to a place where we could experiment with different episode styles like that. And I think that if we had like pigeonholed ourselves too much from the beginning, it would be harder to break that mold every now and then.
Well, I think some of that also goes back to show format, though, that we set up in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So again, yes, I agree with you there. But again, part of why we get some of that creative freedom to experiment, honestly, whenever we want, but we're more comfortable with it now, is again, we don't have any sponsors. Lulu's a privately held company. So, we have a lot of these things working in our favor. There's a lot of autonomy that we're granted. So I think when you have all those things working together, you get to do those things and you get to have fun. You get to experiment as you're niching down and finding out who your core audience is and hoping that they align with who you thought they would be, which again, they are, thankfully. So yeah, but I guess on that note, are there any topics that we haven't tackled that you'd like to? Or maybe ones where you've thought like, I'm going to see if Matt wants to talk about this, but then you don't because you're worried I won't want to, or...
That's a great question.
I mean, I know fan fiction was one of them and you eventually won that battle, but...
I know. And I do also, that's one that I would revisit if I could, actually, because I think that there was a lot of, I think sometimes one of the things that I have learned, I swear I will answer this question. One of the things that I've learned over the course of doing this podcast is that there are a lot of times when I am editing the episodes that I will think, oh shit, I just have a really good point that I could have made there and I didn't. Or like this, like we didn't like I feel like this could have tied back together so nicely with this moment, but because we are doing this live basically and it's not a blog post that we're writing or something like that, you can't go back and say, oh, let me insert this thing in there in the past.
You can. You have to re-record basically the whole episode. Right. You don't have the luxury of time.
No. And also, I don't know that I'd necessarily want to do that anyway, because that feels a little too scripted for me. But there have been some opportunities where I've sat there and it's been after the fact that I've gone, oh, I kind of wasted my opportunity to talk about fan fiction, because talking about fan fiction in general didn't really do much. But towards the end of that episode, we started talking about the impact that fan fiction has had on the modern publishing industry and marketing practices in the publishing industry. And that could have actually been a really interesting episode that had value, but we didn't get there until the end. And it's unlikely that I'm going to get the opportunity to do that again. So that's definitely happened, where sometimes there have been episode topics where I've been like, oh, or we'll say something in passing. We've had a lot of episodes that come up that we say in passing in an episode, maybe it would be interesting to do a topic on this. And I kind of jot that down in my notes when I'm editing later. And then we do wind up circling back and doing a whole episode on that. But I think that not necessarily topics that we haven't talked about, because I think we've done a lot of like covering broad areas. I think I would like to spend a lot of our upcoming episodes niching down further into some topics. So like I said with that marketing episode where it was like, you know, we covered a 3-month window of time in a 90-minute episode, or not a 90-minute episode, like a 70-minute episode or something like that. You know, I'd love to break that down further and niche down a little bit further into like, here, let's break down the marketing steps and get a lot like focused in on like, how do we do this one thing? How do we do this one thing? How do we really like nail this so that you could listen to like a several part series, and by the end of that be like, I am a book publishing marketing pro. So I think that's really more of what I would like to do more of, is like taking episode topics that we've done and saying, okay, let's niche down a step from here. I'd
like to go the opposite direction
really?
With those. Well, I to me, the publishing component of it is so, it's negligible at this point these days. You know, the actual publishing component of what we do, it's almost just terminology there for terminology's sake. Like the goal is to get content out there into the world for sale, you know, in whatever fashion that might be, whether that's on your own website or, you know, through retail channels or whatever that might be. And publishing has just kind of become a catch-all term, and talking about, you know, publishing in general, I just think is, you know, I just think it's old hat at this point. Like the marketing components, yes, you know, as they relate to sales. And I think that's one of the things I like about where we're at right now in 2025 as an industry, and as, you know, as people creating content, not just us, but 10 years ago, when I first came to Lulu, when we would go to events or talk to authors and creators, you know, not many people 10 years ago called themselves creators, especially in our space, but it doesn't matter. You know, when you brought up the idea of making money, it was almost like a bad thing to talk about. It was, you know, this is a craft. Yeah. Like I'm not doing this to get rich, and I call bullshit. And I always have. Like, you know, if you want to make a career out of it, then you need to learn how to make money with your books. And if that means you need to learn things like how to be a better marketer, if that means you need to learn things like what a P&L sheet is, or how to set up your own Shopify storefront, or how to deal with taxes, or how to incorporate yourself as an LLCS corp, or then you need to learn those things, you know, and you should, because until now, they've given all the control to retailers and publishers, really in exchange for not having to do those things. And now that the tools and the education exists to help people do those things in a very, I think, easy way, there's just no excuse for it. So, you know, going in the direction of, again, talking about publishing and marketing as it relates to publishing, I'm not interested in, but I'm very interested in continuing to talk about marketing as it relates to selling more books, and marketing as it relates to building your brand as a creator, author, whatever you identify as. I don't care if you don't identify as either. If you're just an entrepreneur and you want to sell books because you love books and it's a way to make money, great. I'm here to help you. But I think that's where I would want to keep going. Like, you know, again, to me, publishing is just a term that we use, at least here. That's just how you get your content into our system. You publish it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And yes, it can have broader connotations for some people, and that's fine. But what we're interested in ultimately is helping you sell more books, period.
Yeah.
And growing a business, you know, not being chained to a cubicle every day because now you're making money from your content or content in general or whatever that might be.
I do think to that point, and to the point of like how doing this podcast over the last few years has kind of changed how I approach a lot of stuff professionally and personally. I was spending time with my family over the weekend, and you know, when you have those conversations with family and they're like asking you questions about your job in a way that you're like, you don't know anything about this industry. So I'm going to answer this question and you're not going to know what I'm talking about. Like, I could, for the whole time that I've worked as anything other than a bookseller, pretty much like since then, anytime that I've talked to my family, I'm like, you guys don't know anything about publishing. You don't know what it means if I say that I'm doing this, whatever. And this was the first time really that I was talking to them about what I was doing at work. And I kind of realized halfway through the conversation that I was speaking about my job as a content marketer and not about my job as being related to books or publishing. Mm-hmm. And that was an interesting like perspective shift. But I think that is accurate. And I think that's probably like a result of this podcast and a result of like thinking about things from the perspective of a book is a part of your content business, content brand, whatever. And let's talk about how to grow that as a whole.
Yeah. I think that's really astute. We were talking about this earlier. Like, if somebody was to ask me, oh, your co-host Lauren, what does she do? What is she? What does she do? What is, I could say a lot of things. I could say, well, she's a podcaster, or I could say, well, she's a marketer. I could say she's a publishing expert. I could say she's a content marketer. I could say she's a writer. You could say all of these things, but at the end of the day, if somebody asked me what your expertise was really in, I mean, that is what I would probably say, what you just did too. And out of all those ways that you could identify yourself professionally, again, speaking to your family or whoever, like we do tend to gravitate towards currently where we're feeling we're adding the most value into the ecosystem, which is teaching people how to make money from their content, how to build a business. You know what I mean? Not just like, oh, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to put it into KDP and I'm just going to let it do its thing. Like that is not being an active participant in publishing. That is not being an active participant in putting money into your bank account so that you can one day not be, a part of corporate America and just create for a living. Like that is not active participation at all. That is somebody who's just throwing spaghetti on a wall and see if it sticks. Like, so yeah, I think I would want to stay doubled down in the niche that we're in and just keep trying to add value there and finding more ways to help people, sell their content and build businesses from it. Build businesses from it, I think, is the end cap there, right? Like sell content, make money, great, but build a business, like longevity, have a long tail plan, I think is the cool part. Yeah,
I think so too. So I think that not just because Matt is my boss and gets the final say on episode topics, but also just in general, I do think that if you're listening to this now, if you're listening to it when it comes out, I think it's probably likely that we will keep going in that direction as you're listening into year 3. And if you're listening to it in the future, and there are multiple episodes out since this one, let us know if we stuck to our plan. Let us get through the rest of this year first, and then once we hit 2026, we'll see what kind of episode topics we come up with for that.
Let's see if we survive the holidays of 2025.
See if we survive 2025 in general. But we are also coming up on another milestone that is going to be towards the end of this year too, and that is going to be our 100th episode. Our 100th episode comes out the first week of December, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Did you think we were going to make it this far? You can be honest. It's okay.
Honestly, I thought it was a 50-50 shot. And I thought if we don't, it will be because of lack of two things. One, technical ability, and two, measurement or metrics to show like what we're doing is resonating. We have some reach. This is worth it to keep doing it. I didn't have any doubt that you and I could go for 100 episodes because again, I already knew professional yapper you and myself. Like as long as you get me talking about something I'm interested in, like I'll just talk. So yeah, I wasn't too worried about that. I was worried about, again, technical, because neither of us knew anything about podcasting, cameras, equipment, microphones, lights, you name it. Yep. We knew nothing about it. Zero.
And very much still learning.
Yes. But then again, also, measure measurement and metrics, and I wasn't sure if we'd be able to know. I did know that in general podcast statistics, right? Like I think the statistic is that if a podcast makes it past, I want to say it's 20 or 30 episodes, you're already in like the top 10% of podcasts, because most don't make it past that. And so I thought to myself, literally, if we can make it past 30 episodes, I think we'll be okay. 100 is still a surprise in a lot of ways, and then others I thought, well, if we could get past these few things, I think we'd be all right. So yeah. Now, if you said we'll be celebrating 300 episodes at some point, honestly, I might be a little surprised. But
you and me both.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm probably on the same page. Honestly, I think it was like I think I knew we would make it to 1 year, because I knew at the very least, like, we were going to give it, like, we weren't going to give up on it before a year.
Yeah.
And then, maybe we're going to see, is this worth it to keep going or not? But once we hit that 1 year mark, I was like, oh no, this is, we got this. We're going to keep going with this. So we'll see. We'll see what comes next after this one. It's all right. So 300, that's a little ambitious, but what's another milestone you'd want to reach? Whether it's episode numbers or like a cool thing we would do or something.
Duolingo has taught me to push my our expectations further than normal. So,
okay.
Like, it makes you commit to a streak, right? And if you try to commit to a streak that's too low, to be like, oh, come on, you can do. And so I'm learning Japanese, and it's like, okay, I'll commit to a 10-day streak, and it's like, oh, you can do 20, and so I'll commit to a 20. And then if you break the streak, of course, Duolingo shames you. Like, your phone just keeps sending you these little messages. So normally I'd be hesitant to say 300 episodes, especially since we're just about to hit 100. But in my newfound love of Duolingo and its bullish tendencies, I'm going to say 300.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if we make it to 300 episodes, we're going to go to Disney and record it there. That's my milestone.
Oh, well, if that's the then let me bump that down to 200.
I'm not saying that we can't go to Disney sooner.
Okay, all right.
But you set the milestone, so I'm setting the reward for the milestone.
Okay. Well, if the reward for the milestone is Disney, then I'm going to drop that down to 200.
Not 101?
Dalmatians. Yes. Well, maybe that should be the number. Yeah.
Perfect.
No, we'll say 200.
All right.
I didn't say we couldn't up the cadence to 2 episodes a week to get to that 200 faster.
I was going to say. All right. We'll see about that.
Up the cadence and cut the time in half.
That's the only way we'd be able to up the cadence is if we cut the time in half.
Oh, because you couldn't talk for an hour twice a week. Give me a break.
No, I couldn't produce 2 episodes in a week.
You're saying
if
the
they were
quality
an hour long, yes.
Gotcha.
If it was 2 hour-long episodes every week, it would take me twice as long to do.
All right, we'll stick with 200, and
all right.
Disney's the reward.
Sounds good. Thanks for sticking it out with us, whether it's been for 1 episode or 1 week or 1 month or 2 full years. It's been fun. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next and where we keep going from here. And hopefully you guys are all along for the ride with us.
We'll see. We'll be counting.
Yeah. So like, subscribe, leave us a review, leave us a comment on Lulu Social or Spotify or wherever you like to listen. Let us know what you want to hear more of in the future as we come up to year 3 of this podcast. And we'll be back next week with another new episode for y'all.
Later.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about this episode, check out the show notes on publishprosperpodcast.com. Publish and Prosper is brought to you by Lulu.com. To hear more episodes like this one, please like and subscribe wherever you listen. Thanks for tuning in.
What does it say here? Open the cover and face up, pull up insurance card, push button, set it off.
Pull up insurance card.
Wait a second. Make sure you're covered by health insurance first.
All right.
I promise it's not going to hurt.
It's gonna hurt.
All right, good job.
Those are so much more impressive than the other ones. We good?
Yeah.
All right.